Welcome in. It is the Show Pony University podcast here, showponymedia.com. I am Chris Childers, a brand new podcast that I launched a couple of weeks ago. I have been working my literal ass off on content and all kinds of things, trying to set up Show Pony University, the classes, which we're going to start on May 6th at 8 p.m., which is going to be a 4-week course where if you want a podcast, you want to be on a radio, you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, and you're just like, how do I make something that's compelling? I want to talk about sports. I don't know how to. I'm going to help you. We're going to do it over the course of 4 weeks. So sign up, showponymedia.com, click on Show Pony University. I have a guest today. My second guest ever on the podcast, Allie Gehring, was nice enough to give me time. And I figured, isn't that nice?
Well, I like Allie. I thought if it was someone else that was ahead of me, I'd be pretty upset.
It was Allie. Yeah,
I like
it was
Allie. Allie's acceptable.
And Allie's my producer, and we went behind the scenes and talked about, Neuheisel and all that stuff. Dude, you would have loved this. Okay, let me introduce my guest, Mike Farrell.
Yes,
Mike
hello.
Farrell Promotions, MikeFarrellSports.com, the godfather
Right.
of recruiting, the greatest recruiting analyst in the history of the world. So on Wednesday, 2 days ago, you know that Luis Perez guy who's the quarterback who's been in spring football forever? He's like been bounced around with all kinds of different teams, but he's been a starter for I don't know, as long as spring football has been around.
Right.
Well, he was on the Renegades with Rick.
Oh.
But he didn't start him. So this guy's been like Mr. Spring, Mr. Reliable, and he starts Austin Reed. So Perez is like, dude, get rid of me then. I got to go somewhere and play. So during the commercial breaks on Wednesday, Rick was negotiating the trades with, I swear to God,
nice.
It was the funniest thing ever. He would get up and run out of the office, and he would talk to somebody, and somebody with the Battlehawks, because they're in the same building. And then he would run back on the show, do the segment, run back out. And by like an hour of that, going back and forth, Luis Perez was gone to St. Louis. It was something else. Rick is something,
it's funny because it's like, it's not big time, but it's bigger time than we're used to. And it's, there's no trades in college football, so we don't see it that way. We see, kids go in the portal and sort of free agenting. So it's kind of the closest that we're going to get to legitimate trade talks at a professional organization. So that's interesting.
So this podcast you joined today is kind of like a behind the scenes, more talking about, how we became who we are, and then looking at Full Ride and behind the scenes of that and what we talk about on the show every day. And you have become a staple. So you join us each and every, Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday, 10 a.m.
I forget because I'm an idiot.
I don't know
Everything
how you
runs
forget,
together to me.
because that's honestly, it's appointment television for people because or it's not television, it's radio. I literally just got off the phone. So I advertise what I do on your radio show.
Yeah.
And a guy sent me, he signed up for a consultation, which is $200. Because I don't do anything for free except for your stuff. And then he goes, my uncle is a big Full Ride fan.
Nice.
And so he heard you on the radio Thursday, and the uncle's been hearing me for weeks and weeks and years. And he finally just put two and two together and talked to his nephew, who has a football player. And so a lot of the call was about Full Ride because the uncle was on the call with the guy. Guy's talking about his kid. We're talking about how we get a kid exposure, but the uncle's like chiming in, not annoyingly, just chiming in and sort of asking a few questions about this, that, and the other, and asking. And I said, well, literally, when I got off this call, I got to go do a podcast with Childers. And it's funny because some of the things we talk about that Rick's uncomfortable about, they love it. They love the fact that I'm miserable. They love the fact that I'm miserable and depressed. So similar to Howard Stern, our idol.
Right? My hero, yes.
Miserable, depressed,
Yeah.
Nothing
to live for. Life's not exciting. Yeah.
But Howard says when he's on vacation, he's miserable because he misses being on the radio. And when he's on the radio, he's miserable because he misses being on vacation. And that's a synopsis of my life, And it's the same. It's just So people love that because Rick's so
Oh
happy-go-lucky.
my
He's such a
God.
positive person, quarterback, and all that stuff.
Because
And then there's
everything
me.
breaks
I
his
come on,
way, though. Honestly, it does. Everything breaks his way.
and I guarantee you that happens on the golf course too, because I golf with guys like this, and it really ticks me off. Like I'll hit a shot, it's behind a tree,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy will hit a shot similar to it, and it'll hit the tree and bounce left, and he'll have a great look, and I got to punch out. That's Rick's life is that guy's life, where he never gets behind a tree. He's always got good luck. And my life has always been terrible
Mm-hmm.
luck. So, but
Bunker,
people tune in for that
water.
dynamic. They
Exactly.
want to hear me be miserable. They love it.
And
Absolutely
I'm
love it.
so glad that we have an outlet where people can just feel safe and happy and comfortable in the arms of your misery. I mean, I think every Thursday people do absolutely look forward to that, and it is pretty damn funny. So you don't do any other podcasts, any other shows but ours for free. So you'll only do our stuff. And so
Yep.
I got to know, how
So
worth it has it been for me to bug you whenever I want to bug you to come on? What have you gotten out of Full Ride?
at first I wasn't doing the promotion business. So you notice I wasn't plugging my stuff on the air
Yeah.
the first couple of years. I had left Rivals, and I was starting my own website similar to what you're doing. We
Mm-hmm.
were writing content, putting out there, trying to get paid through clicks, through advertising, and that's kind of the way it worked.
Which
I
is
was never
hard.
a it was never a subscription based service because, I just didn't think people would do that. So I was promoting the website on your stuff, and then I got into the promotion business, and that became very successful. And I've gotten a lot of leads from it. So today is an example. I mean, this person is going to do something. It comes directly from the show. So I look at it as an investment.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Um, yeah, because, but I don't do it. I don't like it. And I like it with you guys because I'm comfortable with you guys and I've built this niche, but I don't, people ask me all the time, will you do my radio show? Will you do my pod? I don't even respond to them. I don't even say no. I just don't respond. So it's become something that I'm comfortable with. But the point of like your classes, what I just described there is a strategic way of using my unique personality
Mm-hmm.
to create a persona on the radio to make myself interesting. None of it's fabricated. I truly am a miserable person. I
Yeah.
truly am cranky.
Yes.
But I have to lean into that because if I go on there like some of these other guys and I'm fake, then I'm just another person. I'm boring. So people tune in on
There's
Thursdays
so much
because
fake.
I embrace it. I
Yes.
embrace the
Yes.
miserableness and that's
When
kind of the
everybody you
key to
worked
like
with at
radio.
the recruiting company, for the most part, was fake.
Every one of them.
Every one of them. All right, we got to
Yeah, I
talk
can't
about
think of
that.
anybody. I
We got
can't
to
think of
talk
anybody who
about
was genuine.
we got to talk about the reality of the recruiting business, because the recruiting business died, and that's why I know you. So
So happy it died.
it died. I graduated college in 2005. I got a job right out of school with rivals.com doing like recruiting video and stuff like that. And I lasted a week before they said, "Hey, you need to go on the radio stuff." Um, because they were shorthanded and it was just everything there was kind of paper cups and string and just kind of, duct taped together.
Startup.
It was
Startup.
a startup, and you were kind of like the king of the startup. You were the guy that was showered with praise, and you'd walk in, and Mike Farrell's here, and it was a big deal. How did you become that? Like, you
It's
probably loved
easy.
it at first, but eventually it eroded your soul. So, how did that all happen?
I became that. So they came at me, I was writing for a Boston College website, and that Boston College website was, you know, was became one of the teams in the network at Rivals, the old Rivals, the Seattle Rivals,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, um, advertise based, click based, you know, and so during that transition when it was bought, when they went bankrupt and then it was bought, I was being approached at the time to be a regional analyst, and they wanted me to cover, the East Coast and for some reason Notre Dame. It was like the East Coast and Notre Dame, and not all the East Coast, not down into Georgia, Florida, but up in my region, the Mid-Atlantic area, and then Notre Dame. So I was doing that. Then boom, they went out of business. New ownership comes in. We all know about the new ownership.
Mm-hmm.
You
Same
know, and
ownership that
I,
owns On3 right now.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
said to myself, like, I'm going to differentiate myself. So at the time, I guess I can name names. Jeremy Crabtree was the national analyst, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who hired me to be a regional analyst. But I said, I'm in Connecticut. This is a niche. I literally live 15 minutes from Bristol. ESPN's there. I took it upon myself to reach out to some of the personalities at ESPN. I didn't know any of them. I never had any connections there. I didn't have an in. I just literally sent an email to like the Reese Davises and Dave Revsons of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Dave Revson responded to my
Yeah.
stunning, shock. And he's like, I am a fan of recruiting. I've seen Rivals. I'm aware of what you do, from a regional standpoint. He's a Northwestern grad, so I didn't really cover a lot of kids that went to Northwestern, but some of them. We met for lunch in West Hartford, Connecticut, like literally the next day. And I made my pitch to him. I said, you're missing out on this niche. You have some stuff you do here and there, but you don't have a lot. You do some signing day stuff. You need to do this weekly because people want this badly. And he believed me. He went to his producer, and by Friday, we met on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was live on the air for the first time ever. I'd never done television, never been on the air.
Wow.
And I'm sitting next to Lou Holtz.
Yeah.
It's the Coach's Corner, it was called. And it was Jim Donnan, Lou Holtz, Trevor Maddich, me, and Dave Repson.
Was Lou
And I'm
rude?
nervous. Lou was rude.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's okay. And he was just a cranky old man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, very nervous, but I did well. They had me as a staple on there. Then they wanted me to put me on ESPN News for segments of Brian Kenny, and there was something called the Hot List back then. And I would do live hits on that. Then all of a sudden, I'm meeting Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso, and Fowler wants me to do prep for game day because he's a big recruiting guy, and he's mentioning me on the air. Then I met Scott Van Pelt, who became a friend of mine. He's got me on Sports Center. I got my own signing day show. Literally, all this starts happening within 2 years. So the second I go to our ownership and say, hey, guess what, guys? I've got an opportunity to be on ESPN. I'm going to do it. They're not paying me, just like you. They're not paying me, but it's going to be really good for my career and it's going to be good for Rivals. That's when I became the golden boy.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
I was, prior to that, I was a nothing,
Gotcha.
and then all of a sudden I became, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting FaceTime with the boss and they're offering me, contracts. And then I became elevated immediately to a national analyst because you can't have somebody on national television be a regional analyst. Makes no sense. And then, all of a sudden I'm elevated to a level equal to Krabby, which is funny because that year I brought in, obviously so many subscriptions, so much attention to Rivals from the ESPN stuff that I was doing. And we have that stupid end of the year banquet or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Convention. Remember the convention
Yes,
where all
the
the publishers came in and complained about everything?
Yeah, the publishers convention.
Yes. So we had
Yeah.
awards. They started giving awards. And I'm like, geez, there's no doubt. Most valuable player award.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting it. I'm bringing them so much attention. It's unfreaking believable. And I get it, but I had to share it with Krabby. They gave him the same award because they felt bad for Krabby.
Of course.
And I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to be?
Yeah.
I've literally brought millions of dollars into your organization based on my go-getting attitude of cutting a deal with ESPN on the side. And you're going to make me share an award with somebody who's done nothing to move the company forward. Okay, I see how this works. Fast forward, I worked at ESPN for 3 years. We're going to get bought by ESPN. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be in charge. I'm already in charge. I'm going to be more in charge. I know these guys, Patrick Stegeman up at ESPN.com, and I know all the personalities. I'm going to be on the air every second. I'm going to be the Adam Schefter, before he existed, of college football recruiting. And then the deal falls through. ESPN did a little background check on a certain somebody, and they killed the deal. And
That's what happened.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Really?
So Yahoo So Yahoo ended up buying Rivals because ESPN was
It was
set to
because
buy
of
them,
a
and they did.
background
Yeah,
check.
that's what I
We're
was
not going to
told. Is
say
listen,
who, but we know this for a
yeah,
fact.
no, I mean that's what I was told,
Wow. Okay. Now
but
keep
I
going.
don't know. I
Gotcha.
don't know
Gotcha.
what's true and what's not
Allegedly.
true.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
allegedly. I'm just saying, like they're telling
Yes.
me, like I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
so
right because
psyched.
you this is huge. And by the way, I'm working for the company at the same time. I'm such a nobody. I know none of this. But go ahead.
So I'm at ESPN weekly. I mean, literally like 3 times a week, and I'm talking to
I
high level
remember.
producers. Lee Fitting, a Game Day, Barry Sachs of ESPN News, like you name it. I'm dealing with the producers of these shows, and they love me because I come in there and I'm providing all the video myself. I'm doing all the prep work myself. I'm writing the segments myself. They don't have to do a thing. They just put me on the air and they fill time. The hot list is listen. They want guests. They want people. So we're talking 10 minutes recruiting three times a week. Great. So they're in love with me. I'm the king of Bristol. I'm the king of Nashville. This deal's about to go through. Everything's going to be great, and then it falls through for whatever reason. Allegedly this, allegedly that.
Allegedly
Don't
this
know,
and that. Yes.
but that's what I was told. And then Yahoo buys us, and then all of a sudden, Yahoo.com was a competitor of ESPN, and all of a sudden,
Oh
I'm
crap.
persona
Yep.
non grata. I am all of a sudden. Then all of a sudden, ESPN hires a recruiting company. I don't know what they
Mm-hmm.
were called at the time, and they've got Tom Luginbill,
Mm-hmm.
right? And David Geesland from whatever his company's name was is the guy, and then to a lesser extent Craig Hobart and all that stuff. All of a sudden, I'm getting pulled into production meetings and saying, we got an email from this guy, we got an email from Luganville, we got an email from Gleason. They don't want you on the air anymore. You're pimping out rivals.com, which is a competitor of ESPN.com. We have
Yeah.
our own in-house recruiting now because we did that because we were going to buy you guys and we were going
Mm-hmm.
to have you going to be in our in-house. That fell through. So now we had to do our own in-house. So we brought them in. And I had to, unfortunately, get the phone call from Barry Sachs, who is deceased now. Rest in peace. A great man. I think he was soundedly cheerful. And they let me go. And so the span of like 3 years from I think like 2004 up to
Wow.
2007, I was the man. And then it all fell apart. Now I still did well at Rivals. I was still, on NBC. I was on the Army Bowl. I was on the selection committee. I was still like the man. But that's what happened. That's
So
how I
is
became
that
revered.
your Green Goblin, Joker, Riddler villain story? Because you used to come in with zest and you used to be like, I'm the
Yeah,
guy. Used to be wearing suits and I mean, your hair was done and I mean, you were coiffed and you got like kind of the spiky hair and the whole thing. Like, when exactly did the business steal your soul? Because
that
everybody
was
has
the
the
that
moment
was
where
it.
the soul gets taken, like just
That
like
was it.
Thanos.
That's my villain arc.
Yeah,
That that occurred
yeah.
because I was pretty angry that and again I was treated okay in Nashville, but still to as well as you could be treated in Nashville, which wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
Still wasn't great. In Bristol, Connecticut, I was treated like they loved me.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved me down there. I was making friends with TV celebrities. Everybody was like coming up to me, the Golics and the Greenbergs and those people, Colin and Coward. I was loved, and I was really like the king of it down there. And then for that to be taken away, you know, made me pretty bitter. And then when it was taken away, when Yahoo bought us, as you remember, the whole Jimmy Pitaro, we're going to open the faucet speech and all this other stuff.
Oh my God,
They made
yeah.
our company so much worse. They made our company
They let us
terrible.
rot.
And
They
so,
let it rot.
but then they kept laying people off. So my staff, but the staff like went down from Rivals, to a high of like in the 80s, down to 50, down to 30. And they kept asking for more from us. So I lost regional analysts and I
Yeah.
had people laid off on their birthdays and all this corporate garbage that occurred. It was really, really bad. And then, obviously after the sale, leadership left, waited their 3 years or 2 years, and then cropped up 24/7. So we had new leadership in place who really didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so I had to like sort of reintroduce myself to them, and then they would leave after a year and then reintroduce myself to another person, people that I don't even remember their names. And they all had terrible ideas. And I would all tell them, we tried this, it doesn't work. I know this doesn't work. They wouldn't listen. We would try terrible ideas over and over again, to the point where I still was motivated because I just needed to do stuff for myself. So in 2009, ESPN hired Krabby in 2009, and I think it was around 2009, and they partnered with Nike, Greg Biggins and Brian Stump, the Elite 11 Nike. And then Nike started charging us to come to camps. Like they had to pay money to come to each camp. We were only limited to X amount of people. And so again, with the foresight of the company, I said, you know what? I'm going to start our own camps. Just me, one person. And I started camps with a company called VTO in North Carolina, literally just me and them. And I started these camps, and I started getting kids invited to these camps, and I had kids coming to these camps. And again, this was the second Villain Arch. I created these camps from scratch. They became very successful. We did 5 one year, 10 the next. We were going to do 15. All of it, me, every bit. Under Armour comes in. Ironically, David Geeslin, who's partnered with the Under Armour game through ESPN, they come in and they're like, we love your camps. And they paid, I believe, and again, this is all alleged, like $3 million for the rights to our camps. Okay. Camps that I created from scratch. I didn't see a penny of that, not a penny. And then Yahoo took that $3 million, invested literally $50,000 back into Rivals, pocketed the rest of it, and our camps were run on a shoestring budget, and they became terrible. And then Under Armour bailed after 3 years, and then Adidas came in and gave us less money, and then Adidas bailed, and then NCSA came in. It's like everything they did at Rivals, everything I did that was great, ESPN ruined. Camps ruined. They ruined everything. And so I became this bitter, angry person who was still this big name guy high in the sky. But I was pissed because we could have been so good in so many ways. And I just kept running into roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And I became very bitter. And then in 2022, we were in a contract negotiation and we were at a stalemate. And I'm like, I brought in, take the $3 million that Under Armour put that there, bring in the millions that I brought in for free advertising on Rivals.com. I probably brought in $20 million to this organization. And you guys are going to nickel and dime me on what I want. And I'm not asking for anything crazy.
To break
and it
your
just
heart
didn't
with
work
the way
out.
that the corporate world actually is. They just screw you. They don't care about you. They'll squeeze everything they can. They'll leave you lifeless, and they'll throw you aside.
Yeah. So then I had to decide to leave and then reinvent myself.
Yeah.
And that's tough and that's not easy. So it's like, the villain arc is like legit. There's a lot of anger and resentment there. And I was never an overly happy person. I mean, you mentioned pep in my step and all that stuff, but yeah, I had to dress in suits and do my hair because we were doing video all the time, and I was on, television. I was I was engaged then because I was really happy and excited about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And then that went to hell. And then I tried to re-engage myself again and say, okay, I'll create camps from scratch. And then that went to crap. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not creating anything more. I'm not making this company any more money. I refuse.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, well, you're out. We're not going to give you what you want. And here I am. So that's just corporate. But, you have to bounce back from this stuff. And you have to I told myself in 2022 when I left, I'm going to make in 3 years, I'm going to make much more money than I ever made at Rivals. And I made a lot of money at Rivals. I was higher paid than my boss and my boss's boss, which was also really awkward because you're coming up for contract negotiations and your boss knows he makes a ton less than you, and your boss's boss knows he makes a ton less than you. I was the highest paid guy there by far. So I made a lot of good money at Rivals. So, I'm not bitter about that. I should have made a lot more. But then I said, you know what? I'm just going to knuckle down and I'm going to make more money after 3 years than I ever did at Rivals. And I'm making a ton more now than
Nice.
I ever was at Rivals. So
Hell
that's
yeah,
the
dude.
revenge. It's the revenge is success.
Yeah.
That's it. And that motivates me on a daily.
Hell yeah.
So there's
Mike
your little story
Farrell.
about Rivals.
I know. Rivals
There's
is
a lot
unbelievable.
more, but
There's a lot
there's
more.
there's your little
Let
story.
me ask you something. Mike Farrell, MikeFarrellSports.com, Mike Farrell Promotions. You mentioned Jimmy Pitaro, and when Jimmy Pitaro and Yahoo bought Rivals, Jimmy Pitaro was obsessed with beating ESPN. Obsessed, obsessed, obsessed. Talked about it all the time. Talked about this and that, all the things they were going to do. They didn't do shit, and Jimmy Pitaro never came close to touching ESPN, but now he runs ESPN. I want your honest opinion on Jimmy Pitaro and him being the guy in charge of ESPN because ESPN has such an important role in the life function of our favorite thing, which is college football. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you felt about the guy, but I don't have the greatest faith. My opinion.
Jimmy Pitaro was nice to me. Again, I was the golden boy and kind of the prize pig. When they
Mm-hmm.
bought Rivals, I was like the prize pig, the face of the company and all that stuff. Always nice to me. And then when I got into a specific contract negotiation, probably around 2010, um, I was button heads with what I wanted. And I had met Jimmy Pitaro's best friend growing up in New York, like his best buddy. Was the father of a recruit that I covered and actually kind of discovered. And so this guy was kind of taking with me a little bit. He was a really nice guy, but like an old school, like, fix up your car, like man's man, not like
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
man's man. And he was like asking me, he's like, what's going on? And I don't know why I even mentioned it, but I said, I'm in the middle of a contract negotiation. He's like, oh, really? What? They're not giving you what you want? You're Mike
Yeah.
Farrell. You're the face of the company. I said, well, we're still negotiating. He's like, screw that. And he called Jimmy Pitaro, and Jimmy Pitaro sent a note to somebody, and I got my deal instantly. So
Really?
on that level, Jimmy Pitaro has been great to me,
Yeah.
very, very good to me. Even when I left Rivals, I was thinking about working for ESPN or
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. You know, Jimmy Pitaro sent a note to the highest level sports editor at ESPN, to talk to me. So he's always been really good to me. Now, as far as what he's done with the company, I don't like at all. I don't like it. It's too political. It's too obviously, I'm a conservative, you're a liberal. I don't care about politics. I don't get involved in politics, but it's too right leaning for me. It's too over the top. It's less about sports than it is about everything else now, than it used to be. And that I don't agree with. So, and the corporate things that occur down there now, as opposed to when I was down there in 2004 to 2007, I still know people there. The things they have to deal with are really not good.
Yeah.
It's so when I had this interview with this person at ESPN in 2022, I was like, because I was like, I need a job, you know, and I decided at that point not even to pursue the second interview and not want to work for that company. So
Really?
that's what I think of ESPN. So Jimmy Pitaro, from a personal basis, has been very good to me, but from a professional standpoint, ESPN is a place that I would never work for ever, ever, ever. And in 2004 to 2007, it was the best place ever. It was
Yeah.
amazing. I loved
Yeah.
it. So that's how starkly it's changed in 20 years.
So fascinating to me because like my sister-in-law Ashley had a great relationship with Jimmy. You had a great relationship with Jimmy. And if I walked in front of Jimmy Pitaro, he would have absolutely no idea who I am. I just feel like I am the true scum of the planet. Like I'm just that guy. You know what I mean? Like I revel in people that actually are treated well by others, even if momentarily. I mean, you were treated well for a moment until it all fell to hell. I'd like to know what that feels like. I really would. Even for a little bit.
Well, the
You
funny
saw it,
thing,
you witnessed it firsthand. And Mike, I have been
yeah, no,
treated
I
that
saw
way.
it.
This isn't even a joke. I have been treated that way my entire effing life.
I saw it firsthand. And again, I was the golden boy, so for me to like pull you out of that was not my job.
No,
I was never
nor did we
mean.
have the relationship at the time. You were older. I mean,
No,
it's yeah, it's different.
yeah, but you guys had to, if Farrell's here, you got to get him on the radio.
Yeah.
You got to be on Bill King or whatever garbage it was, and it's like, yeah, so I did that. I was never like outwardly rude to anybody. I know when I went down there, there was a lot of resentment and a lot of jealousy and a lot of people like, oh, Farrell's here. I wonder what the over under is on him mentioning ESPN is going to be and all this other stuff. But a lot of people that were angry about that too. So I was the golden boy, but I was also, there was a lot of jealousy and resentment. But the thing about you is like you don't even understand how revered you are. Like literally, this guy I was just talking to on the phone. You
Because
know,
nobody in my immediate life reveres me. Like there's people maybe that do,
strangers,
but I
yeah,
don't
like
know
this
them.
guy, a
Yeah.
stranger reveres you.
People that directly contact me, come in contact with me, do not treat me well.
But you got to understand that treatment is what drives you. You are
Yeah,
driven out of fear. You are a fear-driven human being.
pretty
I
much.
am too,
Yeah.
but people don't admit that.
Hmm.
We're afraid imposter syndrome. People are going
Oh
to
God,
realize we're
yeah.
not as good as we say we are. We're
Hmm.
afraid they're going to figure out that we suck and they're going to get us off the radio or fire us. The
Amen.
constant imposter syndrome, constant anxiety, constant fear, but it
Yes.
drives you and it makes you a great worker. And
Yeah.
fear is an unbelievable motivator. So some of the best and most successful people in the world are just scared of failure so much that they
Yes.
will not let it happen. And I think that's a good trait. It's not a bad thing. Now you're starting your own business. This is important. This is very crucial.
I feel
You
very
have to do
vulnerable and
this.
very scared, and like people are not signing up at the rate I want, and I'm like, it's terrifying.
Well, we're going to talk about that off the podcast too. I know I've been mentioning I'm going to call you and talk.
Yes.
I do have some ideas. We're going to collaborate. We're
Cool.
going to make it successful. To,
Good.
to what level, I don't know. My promotion business, when I first started getting serious about it, was not lucrative.
Yeah.
My website in 2022 was not lucrative.
Yeah.
Um, I just worked my ass off and I figured out some things that were very important. And those things clicked and worked. So I
That came with
repeated them.
trying. Yeah. Came with
Yeah,
trying.
so yours is the same thing,
Yeah.
but also, I do exposure for high school kids and stuff. You need exposure to what you're doing. You're writing every day, which
Hmm.
you love. Nobody's reading it, you know. So you need to have a few people behind you that can repost that stuff or,
Yeah.
get you going so that
Yes.
more people see your stuff and then more people consume your stuff daily and then more people, it's just a cycle of, and
Yeah.
that's where you start and you start to build upwards. And in turn, your audience is big enough. I've got 160,000 followers. You've got like 30,000,
Not many.
but your audience is
I
big
haven't
enough,
done shit
and
on social
but
media
it's
really
but it's but
until
it's
now.
it's engaging enough. It's going to help me because
Yeah.
if you repost, a video that I do talking about my services, it's going to be seen by somebody who knows somebody who has a parent of a kid.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. So I do have to get going shortly, but I will say this: like,
Yeah. We could say
there's
goodbye.
there's nothing better than being your own boss because that
Hmm.
fear goes away. The fear of failure still remains,
Yes.
but the fear of somebody just tapping you on the shoulder and
Yeah.
saying you're fired,
Yeah.
it dissipates. It goes away.
I
It
have
doesn't
that
exist
dream
anymore.
all the time. All right. I know you got to go. Mike Farrell Promotions, MikeFarrellSports.com. This guy can help you. I know the podcast
Sure
doesn't
can.
have the reach of full ride yet, but someday. Thank you,
Someday.
Michael.
You just
Appreciate
got
you.
to keep working and we'll talk about it like legitimately. I just, I'm such a miserable person that half the time I'm in a bad mood. So I'm like, I'm not going to call Chris,
We'll just
but
text
we
you whenever
will
you're in a
have a
good enough mood.
conversation. I know it's just very rare. I
We'll
mean, I
talk
just
about it.
golfed and shot a 50. I shot a 55 over 9 holes, Chris. You have no idea how much I want to kill myself. 55 is, I shoot
Good for me.
44, 44. 55, I went in every sand trap. I couldn't get out. So today I was like, I don't even want to do this podcast. I don't even want
Well,
to talk to this client,
I
but I
apologize.
pushed through it. But we will talk business
All right.
and
Call me
we'll
when you
get it
can.
rolling. But yeah, I got to roll.
All right.
All right.
Peace,
Take
dude.
care.
Appreciate you. That's Mike Farrell, MikeFarrellSports.com. I thank you for watching and listening to Show Pony University, the podcast. Check me out, showponymedia.com. I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Chris Childers, it's Show Pony.